those near you and let them welcome them with that holy handshake or a holy hug. Can you help me with the rose and the certificates?
Where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place, you are the place, we are the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up.
Yeah. I am the place where God shows up. Wow, you are showing up beautifully today. Thank you for being here. We'd like to acknowledge any children, any young people, any teens that we have in the service at this time. If you'd like to be a part of the Sunday school program, we actually had the Girl Tribe, the teen girls, we had a breakfast and a meeting this morning with Lumbee Elder Sharon Oxendine. Sharon, would you please stand? I want to thank you for the work that you are doing with our teens. Yes. Yeah. And there are plans underway to create something like this for our teen boys as well, so I want to thank you. So to our young people, that's what happened to me when I broke my ankle, trying to go too fast. So we're going to rub our hands together to those young people that are in here, to the ones that are in the back, to our youth ed workers. We love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. and we behold the divinity in you. Thank you for being here. Have a wonderful Sunday school experience this morning. We'd also like to extend a welcome to any of you that may be here for the first time or perhaps here for the first time in a long time. We have a connections card. If you raise your hand, our welcoming team will make their way to you. Wonderful. Just hold your hand up and they'll find you and extend this connections card to you. We also have a little welcome center just as you're leaving this room, and you can drop these cards off there. You can pick up packets of information about our spiritual community. Anyone is welcome to stop by if you have any questions or suggestions, things that you'd like to pass along. But for those of you in particular that are new today, and we want to turn and welcome our live streamers, those that are joining us online, those that are with us wherever you are, we extend this blessing to you. We love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. And we behold the divinity in you. We truly thank you for being here. As Reverend Christy prepares to make some announcements, I'll make my personal announcement. So many of you ask and want to know how I'm doing. I want to thank you for your prayers. About 4.5, 5 weeks ago, I fell and actually broke a piece of my leg bone off. But I'm doing really well. They said I'm about 2 weeks ahead of schedule. I started physical therapy this past week. I'm out of the boot and in a brace several hours a day. So let's affirm this may be the last Sunday that I'm in it. So thank you. Thank you for your love and your healing prayers. I truly do appreciate it. Thank you, Rev Christy.
Good morning, everyone. A few announcements to share with you. Now is the perfect time to silence your cell phones, and if you can go ahead and put them in airplane mode or shut them completely off, that would be greatly appreciated as well. Just wanted to invite everyone. We have a work day this coming Saturday with our Unity Habitat team, so projects inside and outside from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So we provide the tools, and if you have any questions, bring it. All right, then bring it all. Bring all you got. Bring your tools, bring your gloves, bring your hat, bring your spirits, bring your energy. So, Joe, you would just wave back there. If you have any questions, please see Joe. He's on our Habitat team, and Chris, who I think is also in the room. So that's this Saturday. And also just wanted to let you know that there are many opportunities to connect here and volunteer and bring and share your gifts with this community. And Madeline Parker is our Sacred Service Volunteer Coordinator, and she will be out at the Welcome Center following the service today. If you have any questions or would like information on how you might be able to participate more, we sure do appreciate all our volunteers. It's really what makes this community roll, so thank you for that. Reminder, beginning June 2nd, we have changed our service times. Our service times will be at 9:15 a.m. and 11 a.m. Our child care, our youth program will be during the 11 a.m. service, and we'll have nursery care and toddler care during both services. So please mark your calendars and show up a little bit earlier, and then that gets you out in the wonderful summer sunshine earlier as well. So that's June 2nd. Reminder today, following today's service, we will have our quarterly town hall meeting. And with that, we're gonna be informed about the feasibility team has been working on ideas for supporting the expansion of this facility in this community. So please stay. Everyone is invited to attend that. And there'll be some pizza. So there you go, pizza. Also wanted to, I'm Italian. Pizza I'm in, so, but I'm in anyways in this community. And I just wanted to let you know that we have a care team, we have a prayer team and sacred prayer circle and a care team. And the care team extends care to our community, those people that might be at home and would love some support. And we have what we're calling Casserole Sunday, and for the next 2 Sundays, if you would like to participate by making a casserole, here's an information card. We have room for 10, I believe, right, Rev Laura? And so if you would like to participate in that, make a casserole, list the ingredients, and then we're gonna store them here, and then So you're the go-to person? Could you please stand? So if you would like to make a casserole or something that we can bring over to support our fellow community members, that would be great. We're going to collect them next 2 Sundays. Oh, June 2nd. Okay, there you go. I'm aware. It's usually my tagline when I'm done with announcements, like, we are aware. Well, I'm aware. So anyways, and also we do some amazing work out in the greater community. And as you recall, we recently did collected items for our migrant workers for Henderson County, and Pam and Charlie Rogers, longtime members here, have been overseeing that and would like to share some information and a great big thank you for everything.
Thank you. Good morning. Charlie and I are here to share the results of your overwhelmingly generous donations to our migrant workers. Gratitude. The result was overwhelming gratitude. It took Israel 3 trips to 3 different migrant camps to deliver all your gifts. Yeah. We went with him on the 3rd, and believe me when I tell you, it was a profound experience. We wish all of you had been with us to see what we saw and to meet the people that we had the privilege of meeting. So we decided to do the next best thing, bring them to you through pictures and stories. May I have that? There we go. Soon after the truck arrived, a small group gathered. They were a little shy in the beginning, but they got into the swing of things and started talking and laughing and trying on every single piece of clothing they claimed, modeling it for each other. Truly, they were so, so happy. And do you see that trailer in the background of the picture? Well, we want to introduce you to the people who live in it. We spent some very precious time with them. So may I have the next photo, please? Thank you. May we introduce Magali, the woman standing next to me, Alvamar, the man standing next to Charlie, baby William, and that little munchkin hiding behind our legs is Ashley. Their story is the same story as hundreds and hundreds of migrant workers. They arrived recently after a long, difficult journey from Guatemala. Magali and Avalar both work an average of 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. He in the fields and she in a packing company. As we were standing in their home, their trailer, no lights, no furniture, Avalar turned over a bucket to offer me a place to sit. And he talked to us through Israel's translating about life in Guatemala. No jobs, no money, violence everywhere. So much so that they had to close down the schools. No possibility for their children to get an education. They are grateful to be here. Back-breaking work, meager wages, the living conditions here are unhealthy, unjust, and unforgivable, yet they are grateful because they have work, because they have the hope that a better future awaits their children. William and Ashley will go to school thanks to the migrant education program that Israel is part of. And there is no violence in their everyday life. Migrant workers are resigned, used to being invisible. Everyone we saw was stunned, truly stunned, and deeply touched that strangers, you, care about them. You gave them so much more than shirts and hats and bandanas. Your compassion made them feel seen.
For the inspirational reading, we've chosen a blessing prayer from the National Farm Worker Ministry. Bless the hands of the people of the earth, the hands that plant the seed, the hands that pack the harvest, the hands that carry the burden of life. Soften the hands of the oppressor and strengthen the hands of the oppressed. Bless the hands of the workers. Bless the hands of those in power above them, that the measure they deal will be tempered with justice and compassion. Amen.
And Charlie, thank you for representing us and for taking those items. Would you show them your love and blessing? Thank you so much. In so many ways, we have a crisis of humanity. And people have different feelings about what to do or what not to do. But I think all of us would agree that in many ways, we have a crisis of humanity. To me, that is what makes a spiritual community, especially in this day and age, so powerful. And in particular, I want to reflect back to you. You know, here, I'm well aware that people come from all different walks of life. Many of you come from many different religious traditions and spiritual traditions. But what unites us together is love. It's the belief that God is love and that each of us are an expression of God, and therefore the right to dignity, to love, to respect. What a concept to actually live out the golden rule, amen? And that's what we're here for first and foremost. And it makes it especially special today because we have the privilege of welcoming 12 new members. We received 18 members back in February, and Unity of the Blue Ridge, I want to reflect that to you, that means so far this year that is 30 new members that are coming in. Yeah. Ellen Winter, could I get you to come up? And another one of our board members, I think I saw another one of our board members, Terry Crosby or Gail Ray. Gail, if you'd come forward. I usually like to go down for this, but today I'm sure you'll understand I'm going to stay right where I am. But as I call your name, would you please come forward? Cheryl DeCristofaro. Jean Harrison. And Harry Harrison. How many of you were here to see this beautiful couple get married recently? Jane Harper. Cheryl Hopte. Reverend Alon Lambert. Susan Lay. Heather McLaughlin. Michael Morano. Charlene Osborne. Amanda Alton. And Erica Pierce. Not everyone could be here today, but most of these beautiful individuals are here. As you face this community, They reflect back to you your diversity. They reflect back to you your unique unfoldment of a spiritual being on a spiritual path. You hold in your hands a rose, and a rose in the Western tradition is very much like a lotus in the Eastern tradition. You know, we never look at a rose and say, well, when is that rose perfect? Because a rose has the capacity to express its perfection at every stage of its development. And so each of us, in varying stages of our unique development, each of you are like this beautiful rose. And it is our joy and our honor to have you join in this collective field, this collective consciousness that knows itself as unity of the Blue Ridge. As members, first and foremost, it's about your spiritual commitment to your spiritual path. Specifically, I'll read this commitment and then have each of you verbally say, I do. You're just in time, no worries. I understand and support the mission and vision of unity of the Blue Ridge. I choose to demonstrate my support to unity through my prayer, my personal involvement, and personal support. I seek to live my highest truth, and I honor and support others as they live their highest truth. I open myself to receive the abundant blessings that are available when I intentionally live my highest truth. I hereby declare my intention and membership in unity of the Blue Ridge. Would you please say, I do? I do. Congregation, would you rub your hands together? And we're going to bless you with a song that says, you are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of love.
You are the face of love.
I hold you in my
I hold you in my heart.
You are my family. You are the face of love. To each of you, we love you. We bless you. We appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. We are blessed by you, and we welcome you. Would you please stand and welcome them? Thank you so much for being here. Welcome. Yes. Thank you so much. You may be seated. Please take an opportunity after the service to extend a heartfelt hug to each of them, and I will get my hugs after the service also. Welcome, welcome.
Something's calling me. Something's calling me. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Feels like I'm walking on marbles. Can't feel the earth beneath my feet. Is my head in the cloud, my beautiful legs just dangling out. I can feel my heart begin to pound, singing, something's calling me a little bit closer than I've ever been before. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Oh, at night it makes me wonder. Can't see the light that moves me. Oh, if God is everything and everywhere I belong, Spirit gently wakes me from my sleep. Oh, something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Oh, something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Oh Lord, take me deeper, deeper than I've ever been before. Oh Lord, oh Lord, take me deeper than I've ever been before. Oh Lord, oh Lord, oh, take me deeper than I've ever been before. Yeah. Oh Lord, take me deeper than I've ever been before. Oh, love is calling me. Love is calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Compassion's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Oh, my faith keeps calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Oh yeah, peace is calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Oh, God is calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before.
Yes.
Yep.
Ah, thank you so much to this amazing Unity Band. Don't they bless us every Sunday? Thank you, thank you. How many of you can relate to that feeling? Something's calling me a little bit deeper than I've ever been before. That's the essence of life. You know, the rest of nature goes through such a natural cycle that it rejuvenates and regenerates and rebirths itself. But with us, it takes a little bit of conscious effort and willingness. Have you noticed that process? So I want to begin today with a question that I hope you consider from time to time, and that is, what is the purpose of life? And to get real specific, what is the purpose of your life? Have you contemplated that recently? What's the purpose of life? What's the purpose of my life? Have you ever thought you figured it out? It lasted about a minute. The purpose of life. You know, if we look at all creation, one thing we can know for sure is that a purpose, we can call it the purpose of life, is to discover and develop and demonstrate its potential. All of life is continually discovering its potential, developing it, and then demonstrating it. From the flower or a fragrance or the fruit, you know, nature just knows how to bring forth its gifts. And so it is with us. We are here to bring forth our gifts, the potential of our soul. And that what we are, I like to say we're spirit being human, that we're spiritual beings expressing in human form. And so we're here to discover that. We're here to develop our spiritual potential, the fruits of our spirit. The Bible refers to the fruits of our spirit. We're here to develop the fruits of our spirit and to bring them forth. Now, sometimes we may say, yeah, I think I've done that. Well, the litmus test is this. Do you still have a body? Do you still have a heartbeat and breath and skin on? Because as long as we're here, I like to say in a skin suit, as long as we have skin on, we have more. There is more, the majestic one revealing and expressing. We have more to discover, to develop, and to demonstrate. And it's natural. It's as natural as it is with nature. However, because we have free will and we're conscious beings, we can choose to stay in old patterns and old ruts until life finally, that cosmic 2x4 seems to come along and say, how's that working for you? and we decide that we want to change. And as part of then evolving and growing, bringing forth our potential, it happens first and foremost in consciousness. And that's what we want to talk about today, how to cultivate our consciousness and exactly what that means. But life is consciousness, and our life is a reflection of our consciousness, and it happens first in consciousness. If you consider this, back in the 1600s, who was it, Sir Isaac Newton, that began to write about gravity and the laws of dynamic and and just gravity and dynamic. And then years later, the Wright brothers, way down the other end of the state, Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, they were at a point to be able to harness the law of gravity and to break through to understand the law of aerodynamics so that man could learn how to fly. But something, if you really think about it, as long as there's been gravity, there's been gravity. And as long as there's been gravity, there has been the capability for flight to harness and understand those laws. But until human beings had the capability, until we had an understanding, until we had the framework in our awareness. You see, consciousness is your framework of awareness. Until we had a framework of awareness that could capture that knowledge and put it to use, it was what we would call latent potential. The potential was there, but it wasn't yet demonstrated. And so what had to happen first was that framework of understanding had to take place before we could demonstrate it. Well, so it is with the gifts of our spirit. There's a framework, there's an awareness, an inner awareness, and an embodiment of that energy that takes place before we can demonstrate it. And today we want to look at the role of prayer. What is the role of prayer in helping us bring about our potential? Last week I started a 3-week series based on prayer, and last week I talked about the most popular, most prayer has ever been known. Does anybody remember what that prayer is? Help. Anybody prayed that prayer recently? Help. It's ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and the door shall be open. Ask, seek, knock, ASK. Asking and seeking for help and seeking guidance is really important, but we don't stop there. We ask and receive. We seek and find. We knock and doors are open. And last week we talked about the power of having a prayer life and being prayed up versus starting your day without a prayer. Or when you encounter a situation, how precious it is to feel prayed up versus being without a prayer. And so what it means to really live our life in a life of prayer. And so today we take it to another dimension and really look at another attribute of prayer, and that is how prayer enables us to cultivate the inner framework, the inner knowing, the inner awareness, so that we can bring forth the gifts and the potential of our spirit. There's a scripture that gives us a clue in how to do this, and it says that we can overcome the patterns of this world. It says, do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Another way to say that is be transformed by the renewing of your consciousness. You see, just like all of nature renews itself naturally, the old seeds die away, new blooms come forth, we have to be willing to consciously excavate and let go of those old patterns, those old ways of being. We have to be willing to do some work to grow ourselves into our potential. How many of you play a musical instrument? How many of you came out of the womb playing? Raise your hands again. That's a lot. Somebody said this morning we need an orchestra. Just look around. I think we might have one. But anything that you've ever mastered, it takes some work to be able to use that, to master it. And then I like to say, once you learn to play the instrument, then the music can play through you. You see, you're still not through, but now you're an instrument for that to come through you. And that's the goal of what it is on our spiritual journey, that we're here to discover, to develop, and to demonstrate the fullness of our capacity. And it's reflected in our consciousness. And so I wanted to share with you a true story that I believe illustrates this and how it could apply in our life beautifully. This particular situation happened on December 5th, 1960, at the White House. The president at the time, President Eisenhower, was invited to come out, and with cameras and people all around, President Eisenhower was going to be given a very unique gift. And the gift was actually for the children, for all the children of the United States, for all the children that would visit, for all the children that would ever come. This was meant to be a gift for them. And that gift came all the way from India. So on that day in 1960, a rare white tiger, a 2-year-old tiger from India, her name was Mohini. Mohini was presented to the president. And everyone was so excited. This was the first time a white tiger had been outside of India. It was certainly the first time that the United States had received such a gift. But what do you do with a white tiger? And they graciously received the gift, and the tiger was placed in the Washington, D.C. National Zoo. Now, they took one of the old lion's cages, and they cleaned that out, and they put the 2-year-old Mohini tiger there. But it was a 12 by 12 cage with bars and a cement floor. And it didn't take long at all before people said, gosh, such a beautiful, beautiful creature, and how horrible that it has to be in that space. And they began to vision something different. They said, what would it look like if we could create something in the zoo that was more reflective of its natural habitat? And so they brought in some experts. They brought in the construction people. They brought in the biologist, and I guess the tigerologist, and the ever kind of ologist you could think of to bring in to figure out what they needed. And when they created some acreage, they put hills and trees and a pond, and they even brought in vegetation from the natural habitat, which was beautiful. However, it took a while. It actually took a few years for that to be completed. All the while, Mohini has been in a 12 by 12 cage doing the figure 8. So the day finally arrives. It's on national television. They take Mohini to this new place at the zoo, and everyone is waiting, excited, so when they open the gate and she can run out, and they're thinking, yes, be free, be free. And so Mohini does jump out and looks and runs over to a wall around the perimeter, and very quickly marks off a 12 by 12 space and started in the familiar figure 8 pattern. For all of her life, she stayed in that space and in that corner. And as you are lamenting, it is so sad. That's a sad situation. That's a song, isn't it? It's a sad, sad situation. Just hang in there, it'll come to you. I heard it, I'm sure you'll hear it. But how does that apply to us? Well, based on her conditioning, she stepped right back into the only pattern that she knew. Based on how she had existed, what had kept her safe, she stepped back into that pattern. Well, so it is with us. We have established spaces of possibility. We have deeply ingrained beliefs and behaviors. We have our upbringing, we have past experiences, we have all the things that have shaped us that cause us to walk the way we walk in this world. But see, unlike Mohini, it's not necessarily the outer space, because why she stayed in the outer space was because of the inner conditioning. And it's the same with us. And we call that our consciousness, that our framework for who we are and what we are and how we are is first and foremost a quality of our consciousness. And now you begin to understand the power of that scripture that says, this is how you're transformed. The inner conditioning. And it's the same with us. And we call that our consciousness, that our framework for who we are and what we are and how we are is first and foremost a quality of our consciousness. And now you begin to understand the power of that scripture that says, this is how many of you have ever wanted to stop a bad habit? Create a new eating program. Stop marrying the same person. Stop having the same argument. That we can move, we can change these things, but like Ram Dass says, wherever you go, there you are. And so the awareness, the realization that it's through our consciousness. But the good news is there is a way to renew this. And there is a practice, there's a dimension of prayer that specifically addresses this and how that each and every one of us can do this in our own lives. The poet Rilke said this beautifully when he said, most people come to know only one corner of their room, one spot near the window, one narrow strip on which they keep walking back and forth. That's how life tends to be. It's real easy to get in a rut. I remember I had the privilege of taking a trip to Alaska. It was an Alaskan cruise. And on one of the, when we got out and we were able to do some stuff, rather than having an excursion, two of us decided we were going to rent bikes and just get out and see the Alaskan, the beauty of it. And I was stopped when I saw this sign. And I did a little research afterward to discover what happened, but in Alaska, in the rainy season, it gets really muddy, like thick mud. And so when they travel through those muddy roads, they create deep, deep ruts that as soon as it starts freezing, those ruts get frozen and set in place. And so what I came across on my bicycle was a sign that says, rut, choose your rut, next 50 miles. And sometimes that's how life is for us. We feel like, well, I'm in this rut. By God, I'm going to stay in this rut. But we can get out. We can lay down new tracks. Science today says we lay down new neural passageways. We can lay down new understanding. That was the great gift that Jesus brought. Many other master teachers. But when Jesus said, it's the Spirit in me, that the Spirit in me is greater. You see, I may be stuck in this little space, and I may not know how to get out, but the perfect Spirit in me can see beyond this space. The perfect Spirit in me knows that there's so much more available. The perfect Spirit knows how to do this. The perfect Spirit within me knows how. Would you say that with me? The perfect Spirit within me knows how. Say that again. The perfect Spirit within me knows how. So I began to think about that this week and affirm that. I was in a place of business one afternoon, and I was sitting, and there were two other women on the other side, and they were having a conversation that I couldn't help but hear. And one of the women said, she was talking about a family she knew. She said, a few years ago they won a scratch lottery ticket, and they got $2 million. And she said, it was just the best thing that ever happened to them. It was just wonderful. We were all so happy for them. But she said, but do you know, in less than 2 years, they had spent every bit of that money, and they were in worse shape than they started. And the other woman said, quote, because I typed it in my phone. The other woman said, seems like some people just don't know how to hold on to a blessing when a blessing shows up. And I thought, wow, that'll preach. Because that relates. That somehow we don't know how to hold on to a blessing when a blessing shows up. That's true. Because if you have a consciousness of victim, if you have a consciousness that says, I can only deal with what takes place here, if that's your consciousness, then when life puts you over here for a minute, you're going to find your way right back over here. Even though we don't want to do it, there's a part of us, the Apostle Paul said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said, I want to do things, I want to do the right thing, but why is it I keep doing the wrong thing? Have you ever noticed that? If you've ever tried to change your way of being, you can understand that there's the human physicality, our old ideas will keep us stuck in a rut. Well, we can hold on to the blessings. And there's a form of prayer, it's tools of prayer that are called denials and affirmations. Now, these are old terminology, and I want to explain to you really what they mean, because especially the word denial is now popular in psychology, and it's not the same meaning. But the question is, how do we lay hold of higher ideas? How do we open ourselves up to experience something greater than we may currently be experiencing? That how do we allow the perfect Spirit within us to teach us how to forgive? How do we allow the perfect Spirit within us to teach us how to open and receive, how to open and give? How do we allow that? The term affirmation and denials have been around, I know, at least since the late 1800s. In Unity, it was born out of what's called the mother of Unity, Myrtle Fillmore. Came out of her personal experience. Many of you know this story. Myrtle was a mother of 3 children, yet in the late 1800s, she had a terminal diagnosis of tuberculosis. And in that time, it typically was a death sentence. Her doctors had given her months to live. The neighbors were helping take care of the kids. She was not doing well at all. To make things worse, her mother and her grandmother, other people in her family had died, other women in her family had died early. She had always believed and been afraid, I may die early too. I am unhealthy, they are unhealthy. So now she's facing this. She's facing these things, and yet, especially with 3 children and married, she didn't want to die. Well, in her prayers and her asking for help, she encountered someone and she heard them say, you're a child of God and you don't inherit sickness. Now you can see why a light bulb went off in her head, because she believed she had inherited weakness and she had inherited an inability. And so without even understanding what an affirmation or denial meant, she began to say, I did not inherit the sickness of my parents. I did not inherit their genes and their genes alone. I inherited the life of God. She began to say, the life of God is my life, and the vision of God is my vision, and the perfect Spirit in me knows how to heal me. She began to deny, and in the proper understanding, deny means release. She began to release her attachment that life had to be, her attachment to the belief that life had to be just this particular way. And she began to lay hold of a new idea. But it doesn't happen overnight. And that's why prayer and through the use of these denials and affirmations is so powerful. Denial in this sense, again, means release. It does not mean psychological denial. For example, if we say that person has a drinking problem and they are in denial, that's what we're talking about. If there's a proverbial elephant in the room, we're not saying let's ignore it. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite. It's saying we need to look at the facts at hand. We need to deal with the circumstances. We need to deal with the symptoms. We need to deal with the issue. And we need to bring the higher truth to the facts at hand, because the perfect Spirit in me, the Spirit of God in me, is greater than anything I'm facing. Amen? That the Spirit of God, the perfect Spirit in me, is greater than anything out here. And so the denial is the release. It's releasing our fears. It's releasing our false beliefs that these things had ultimate authority over our life. No, I may be experiencing these things, but the Spirit within me is greater than anything in front of me, anything outside of me. So that's what a denial looks like. And the affirmation, what we're affirming essentially is the perfect Spirit. That we're affirming that the perfect Spirit in us, we're affirming our spiritual identity, our spiritual nature. You see, your personality is what is shaped by your conditioning. Your personality is shaped by your experience. Your personality is shaped by your beliefs. But your spiritual identity is part of the one Spirit. It is free. And as Jesus said, Jesus knew himself himself to be the Son of God. And his message was, you and you and you are all sons and daughters of God. That as you come to know yourself as a spiritual I am, a spiritual being first and foremost, then your spiritual nature begins to influence your personality versus your personality locking you in to a 12 by 12 frame of life. Is that making sense? The other thing to say about an affirmation with her is that she denied that there is no sickness, there is no thing that is greater than the spirit in me, that whatever happened to the physical body, she was claiming her spiritual identity. The other thing about affirmations is to realize that it's a whole lot more than positive thinking. Positive thinking is great, and it's a whole lot better than negative thinking. Amen? Positive thinking is very, very helpful. It's something we should practice, but it's not the same as a spiritual affirmation. I'll give you an example. A Unity minister colleague, Reverend Pat Bessie, back in the 1980s, now you have to have a little backstory. Pat had some stuff in her life that caused her to really have some doubts about her abilities. Anybody have any stuff in your life that you know, it been in some therapy or a 12-step program or a doctor or whatever? We've all had stuff in our life. That stuff is to help us realize that I have experiences, but by God, those experiences don't have me, because the perfect spirit in me is bigger than any experience, and that this life and light can come forward. Well, Pat had had some challenges in her life, and she was trying to do better. And in the 80s, when a lot of people were coming out with positive thinking, she was really wanting to take that on. And so she was starting to think more positively, and someone invited her to a Mary Kay a party. And she thought, someone encouraged her and said, you can do that. You can be a Mary Kay consultant. And so she did. They encouraged her. She had these positive thoughts. She said it was like a cheerleader saying, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. And she started working their program and went from being a consultant to a director. Pat said, I even got my pink Buick. Now, I didn't know they came as Buicks too, but she even got her pink Buick. But she said, the more successful I became, the more fake I felt. She said, the more successful I became, the harder I had to work, because I was positive, I was focused on, you can do this, rah, rah, you can do this. And she said, inevitably, I just couldn't, I felt so fake, I sabotaged myself and it collapsed. And in that state of really now feeling like a failure, she happened to make her way into a Unity church. Would you give me that song, Melody? And in that particular church, they were teaching a program called The Quest. It's where every week you look at a spiritual idea. And she said that week, the first week she went in, and was really struggling with, what am I doing wrong? Why can't I break out of this old patterning? Why can't I hold on to my blessings? She said they read the lesson that says, if a thought or a feeling or activity, yours or someone else's, does not validate the divinity within you, and all that your divinity implies, get right to work on denying its space in your life. She said, well, I've got many thoughts that are undermining my own divinity. I don't feel worthy. I don't think I'm a real child of God. I don't think that I'm one with God. She began to realize that she felt herself less than. She felt herself flawed. And when she heard that idea, she thought, I need to affirm my own divinity. I need to affirm the truth of the perfect spirit in me. Now, I don't yet know how to, and fill in the blank, but the perfect spirit in me does. She said, if a thought or an activity does not validate your divinity, does not validate that you are spiritually worthy and whole, if a thought or an activity does not validate that you too are heir of Christ's consciousness, if a thought or a belief or an action doesn't validate that you're one with the one and that you are here to express the attributes of spirit, then get right to work on denying its space in your life. Like a weed, pull it out. That we release our attachment to those beliefs that would keep us stuck, refuse to accept it. And so she began to affirm, the perfect spirit in me knows how to, would you say that with me again? The perfect Spirit in me knows how to. And I invite you to close your eyes. The perfect Spirit in you is the perfect Spirit in me. The perfect Spirit is the one I am, the perfect pattern of our created physical, spiritual human being. There is a divine idea. There is a pattern of existence that holds our perfection. Just as the acorn seed is a pattern, it is a pattern of an oak tree. You may look at the acorn seed and say, oh, no, 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 you are not a tree. But in truth, it is. It is just waiting for the conditions to be in place that the potential may take root and be realized. The perfect pattern of the Christ, the perfect pattern of the divine being that you are, the perfect pattern of your possibility is alive and well. The perfect Spirit within you knows how to. And so where in your life are you in that 12 by 12 space? Where in your life are you having difficulty laying hold of something that you know is yours to experience? And now with the same love that you had for Mohini, you see, none of us looked at that beautiful white tiger and said, oh, she did something wrong. We simply said, oh, that is very sad. It's very sad that that old patterning and that old conditioning kept her in that place. See yourself with those same eyes of compassion. And then see yourself with the eyes of Spirit that says, you may not know yet how to see beyond this. You may not yet know how to be as peaceful, as loving, as forgiving. You may not yet know how to be as creative. You may not yet know the next step that's yours to take, but the perfect Spirit within you does. And so we deny and release our false belief that there is anything that could keep us stuck. But the perfect Spirit within us is here to lift us higher. The perfect Spirit within me knows how to. Fill in that blank for yourself. The perfect Spirit within me knows how to. And friends, the perfect Spirit within us knows how to create a beloved community. The perfect Spirit within us knows how to raise this roof. The perfect Spirit within us knows how to do what we are here to do. The perfect Spirit within us knows how to be the beacon of light, to radiate such presence that healing takes place, that people come to step into a spirit of liberation. The perfect Spirit within us knows how to do these things. And so we give thanks. And as we give thanks, we also bring in our awareness those situations, those individuals that we're holding in prayer. I ask you to speak their name or that situation into this sacred space. And to speak your own name. Perfect Spirit within each and every individual knows how to guide them into their next right and perfect step as they are called to discover, develop, and demonstrate more of who they are as an expression of all that is. So when I pray, I feel myself go deeper, myself go deeper into my God. When I pray, I feel myself
myself go deeper, myself go deeper into my God. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. The perfect spirit within me knows how. I invite you to open your eyes and to stand. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. When I pray, I feel myself go deeper, myself go deeper into my God. When I pray, I feel myself go deeper, myself go deeper into my God. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right where I am, I pray. Would you say this with me? The perfect spirit within me knows how. And would you tell one person, the perfect spirit within you knows how? Thank you, and you may be seated.
Thank you, Reverend Darlene. Week after week after week, I feel such an awakening being part of this community and the messages that are shared here. So thank you for another profound experience. And now let's do that. Thank you. Talk about going deeper, huh? So now is the time in our service where we prepare for our tithes and offerings. And as you reflect upon these gifts that you're about to share, just call in that worth, call in that acknowledgement of who you are as a child of God, who you are as on purpose, living on purpose in this world. Each of us has a gift to share. And so as we prepare to give, let us repeat this affirmation together aloud.
Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am.
I am now in perfect balance and flow with the universal tides of giving and receiving. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.
All that I am, all that I see. lift up my hands now, and I open my heart, and my gratitude goes out to everything near or far. So I lift up my hands now, and I open up my heart, and my gratitude goes out now to everything near or far. I am all that I see, all that I've been is all that I'll ever be. It's a blessing, it's so amazing, and I'm grateful for it all. You're all that I am, all that I see, all that I've been and all that I'll ever be is a blessing. You're so amazing, and I'm grateful for it all. All that I am, all that I see, all that I've been is all that I'll ever be. I'm grateful, it's so amazing, and I'm grateful for it all. You're all that I am, you're all that I see, all that I've been and all that I'll ever be is a blessing. You're so amazing, and I'm grateful for it all. All that I am, all that I see, all that I've been is all that I'll ever be. You're a blessing, it's so amazing, and I'm grateful for it all. I'm grateful.
And we are grateful for you, Kat, and Melody on the piano today, Joel, Pete, Dave, and Don. Thank you so much. And Darlene. Wow. As our ushers come forward and our prayer chaplain with our prayer box, and Madeline reminding us of our opportunities for sacred service, and the prayer box sits at the back. You're welcome to put a prayer concern in there, and our team will hold it in our hearts and in confidence for you this week. And prayer chaplains will be available after the service out in the prayer chapel to pray with you in any way that you'd like to be prayed with this week. And we hold that prayer consciousness, knowing that we are all together in this community, knowing that there is a perfect spirit that's at work with us.
In gratitude, we bless the gifts that flow through our lives and through our Unity Center, the gift of prayer, our sacred connection, our capacity to serve and make a difference with our lives. And together we affirm, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God enables us, the presence of God abides in us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. So it is.
That is the truth. Thank you, and thank you all. And let's stand now and just a reminder, as we're standing to sing ourselves out with the peace song, that take a minute, get a snack, get a piece of pizza, come back in for our meeting, our town hall meeting. And one thing to know about today's town hall meeting is that if you are here, you will receive a link to a survey so that you can put your personal input into the feasibility study. But you have to be here and see the presentation in order to get that link. So I hope all of you will stay. Okay, let's sing.
Brothers and sisters, are we? Let us walk
Thank you very much. Unity Band.